Usually you just bake. Okay, we're up to Nun Amid Beis at about 12, 13 lines up at the two dots. Ein might see in Lachilas Paris that you cannot go ahead and take from Mishubadim from Paris. In other words, if someone would go ahead, let's get the case straight. Someone steals a field. So Ruvain steals a field. He sells it to Shimon. Shimon improves the field. There's a second buyer, Levi, that has a lien on Ruvain. Levi comes and collects the field from Shimon. Shimon now comes back to Ruvain, right? Ruvain has to pay for the field, but he doesn't pay for what? For the Paris. Doesn't pay for the Paris from Mishubadim, from Necharin, yes. So Ein Moitziin Lechilas Paris. My time, what's the reason? Ama Ula, Reish Lakish, Lefishein Ksuvim. Because they're not written. Paris are not written. Meaning, if you go ahead and sell a field, so you sell the field with achrayas nechasim, that there's any title search on the field after and it's taken away from you, we'll make it up. Okay, so that's called a milva bishtar. When that's bishtar, it has a coil. Since it has a coil, people can know we better stay away from this field. It's known that there's a potential lien on this field. On the other hand, the Paris that improved are not written in bishtar. And Rashi brings they are, but there's not, even if they are, it's not bachrayas. It's not bachrayas. So memela, no one knows about it. So it blibes a milva al peh. A milva al peh you never collect from Mishubadim. That's Ula's reasoning. So since in Kaisrin you don't write Paris into the shtar, it has the din of milva milva al peh. Milva al peh you don't collect from Mishubadim. That's Ula's reason. Amrei Shlakish, Ula Amrei Shlakish, Amrei Rav Abba Ula. But Mazan Isha V'Habanais, right? The Tanai Ksuba that we're familiar with, that you have to, as long as they live in the house, you have to take care of the girls. The command of Ksivi Damu, it's if it's written in the shtar. The Ketani Ein might see, and nonetheless, we said for Banais, if you're not going to collect from Mishubadim, it's written. Right? This initially, from the time they made the Tanai and they wrote it in the shtar, they wrote it the following way. It's written that you could collect mazon for banos eisel chayrin, then kusuvim hein eisel mishubadim. So even though it's written on that condition. So therefore, Ula says, I hold firm. Ula says in Reish Lakish, the reason why you don't collect from Paris, because Paris are bleiba milva al peh, it's not written in the shtar. Same Gemara Ravasi, v'mazon isha v'abonis the command ksivi dam. Even Katani might see in. It's written in. That like same Gemara. A second reason why you can't cut from Paris, right? Because they're not what? They're not kotzev. They're not a set amount. If you can find the Tosfos Rid on this, I like to read it to you. If you can't find it, it's okay. Tosfos Rid is on the side. If you have the very old Gemara, it's the last line. If you have the more modern Gemaras, I have no idea. Okay, because there's not a set amount for Paris. Pirish. He's disagreeing with Ula. Even though it's written in the shtar that you can collect Paris, since the amount is not written, you won't collect from Mishubadim. And the people who buy can't possibly go ahead since it's not a davar kotzev to know to leave. It makes sense that the Allah is like Chanina. The Yafagav the kotzev le'achrayis, even though you write achrayis beferish aperis ve'ashvach, even though you write in the achrayis, I'll make up for you any loss that you take regarding Paris. Nonetheless, ain't a guy mishubadim because they're not set. So now we have two reasons. We have Ula's reason in Kaisrin, they're not written in all achrayis, and we have the reason given by Reb Chanina, it's not a set amount. It's not a set amount. Since it's not a set amount, you cannot collect from Mishubadim. Okay. Fred the Gemara Kasha. Iboilu. Ask the question. Not a Kasha, a question, a Shaila. Reb Chanina, Ksuvim boy. Reb Chanina, do you need both? Set and written. Idilma Ksuvim, set Afa pishein ksuvin. In other words, let's say you verbally would say, I'll go ahead and be kotzav, a set amount. Let's say by a regular, not by Paris, by a regular balchov, by a regular balchov, right? You have a regular chov. When a person is mishabed nechasim, is mishabed because you need two things: written and kotzav, a set amount, or dilma ktsuvim, a set amount, even if you don't write it in, and even if it's a milva al peh, you would collect from mishubadim. So again, it's not going to pay; it's going to the etzem chayv itself. Would you collect from mishubadim if it's kotzav? Look at the top Rashi. V'yislei the milva al peh she ktsuva tarfa min mishabdei. A milva al peh that is set, you would collect from mishubadim. Okay, the Taisus disagrees, but that's Rashi's pshat. Toshma the idmar again. What's a shaila? Do you need one, or would you need ksuvim and ktsuvim or ktsuvim alone? Toshma the idmar. Okay, guys, a little information before to understand. We learned in the Masechta Ksubis, right, that a man, if it dies, his children, the girls they're supported from the estate. We said in addition, when they get married, they're given an adunya of 10% of the estate. Good, so they get two things: 10% of the estate and mezainis. They're supported as long as they're living, as long as they don't get engaged. So now, Tashma Ditmar Misha Mace Beniach Shtei Banos. He dies. He leaves two girls, Uben and a son. So three children, two girls and a son. The first one takes her 10%. The second one does not get a chance to take her 10%. Until the son died. So now what's going to happen? They're going to inherit the whole estate. In other words, forget about, usually this only the son inherits. They get 10%. The zehu, they're supported from the estate, and they get 10% of the estate as an adunya, as a dowry to entice men to marry them. Over here, one got the 10%. One did not get a chance to get the 10% until she became half of whatever's there. She's now getting 50%, right? She's getting. Question: does the second one get 10% or not? Says the Gemara, Rabbi Yochanan, Shniya Vitra. The second one is Mevata on the 10%. After all, she's getting 50%. But Amalei Reb Chanina, and this is the same Reb Chanina who said the reason why you don't collect for Paris is because it's not a Dava Kotzav. Amalei Reb Chanina, Gedolim Yizu Amru. A greater than this, we said that she should get the 10%. Maitzian leParnasa, you would collect from Mishubadim for Parnasa. Guys, Parnasa is the 10%. In other words, if there's a lien on a property, she would get Mishubadim the 10%. They might see in the Mizainis, but you would not go ahead and get from Mishubadim from Mizainis. Viat Amit Shniya Vitra, right? You say that what? The second one's Mevata. In other words, Madach, if it's by someone else, she collected 10%. Certainly, if it's there, it hasn't left, you collect the 10%. So Rabbi Chanina is arguing on the Tanakama, right? That if the first one gets 10%, and consequently, before the second one had a chance, the brother died, she would get 10% using a Kal B'Chayma. Madach, where it's somebody else, she can take it back. Certainly, if it's there, she could take it. Good. Now, how does this go ahead and affect our Shaila? But her Parnasa, the 10%, the Mekayetz, it's the set amount. Michtav loy ksiva. It's not written. Become Reitzian. So you see that what? You don't need it to be written. All you need is to be a Dava Kotzav, 10%. It's not written anywhere. So let's be Paisha the Shaila. You want, like Reb Chanina, do you need both? Reb Chanina himself says that you can go ahead and collect, right? It's a Dava, only Kotzav not written. So you have a Raya, you only need Ktsuvim. Shani Parnasa, Kivan this like Kala, Command Ksiva Dami. Parnasa is different, since everyone knows that a man dies. When a man dies, he leaves over a girl that is and automatically is going to be 10%. It's like a dover, it's a coil. Therefore, a person could go ahead and avoid it. And so Memela, it's if it's written, but you can't be me a raya in a regular case that Kotzav alone would do it. This case is if it's written because of the coil. But Einochinami, we weren't placed at the Shaila, guys. Einochinami, we weren't placed at the Shaila. Good. Now the Gemara is going to go back and ask on Ula. What did Ula say? Ula said that Parnas is not written, right? The reason why You don't collect from Mishubadim because the Paris is not written. So now we're going to ask, in other words, we're going back on Ula Shita. Okay, to understand this, again, another Hakdama. A man goes ahead and he gets married to a woman who has a daughter. And he tells the daughter, I'm going to support you for 5 years. They consequently get divorced, marry someone else, and the second husband says also, I'm going to do for 10 years. Okay, so now she's been for 10 years. Now, what happens if the husbands die? What happens? In other words, she's entitled, guys, she's entitled to 10%, not 10%, 5 years from the first husband and 5 years from the second husband. What happens if they die? We're going to pick it up over there. Masav Rav Huna bar Menoyach, right? Mesai, if the husbands die, b'naiseyim, the girls that they have, not the one from the woman that they married, but their own daughters, nizonis minachasim b'nei chayrin, they get supported from b'nei chayrin, like we said, you can't get from mishubadim. But he and this singular girl who had been promised 5 years support by the first husband and the second husband, nizonis minichse mishubadim. Mifnei shehi kibalas chayv, because she is like a balas chayv, right? So the Gemara understands right now that it's not written b'shtar. It's not written b'shtar, and nonetheless she can collect from mishubadim. You know why? Because it's been set for 5 years. So l'chayr, it's a raya to Reb Chanina and a kashan ula. Again, outside. Switch the word parnasa, Paris for parnasa. We had a machloikis by Paris. Why you don't collect Paris from Mishubadim? Said Ula because it's not written. Said Reb Chanina because it's not Davar Katzav. We're now asking on Ula and being a right Reb Chanina. This you have a case over here where all you have to know is that this girl these two husbands owe to this girl, this girl who's not their stepdaughter. They owe to their stepdaughter money, 5 years support. That daughter would be able to collect it from Mishubadim. The Gemara's assumption right now is it was never written down anywhere. All you have, it's that a davar kotza for 5 years, and you collect it from Mishubadim. So you see that it's not the reason it's written. The reason is why, because it's a davar kotza, a kasha. That's the kasha. And for the Gemara, they made a kinyan. In other words, they made a kinyan. You had a kinyan chalipin. The reason why she collects mishubadim is because she acquired it already. She made a kinyan on it. If you made a kinyan, b'nais nami, the girls also, for their support, they should also make a kinyan, and therefore they should also be able to collect mishubadim. Says the Gemara, because shekanu lezu, they made a kinyan with the stepdaughter, like kanu lezu, but they didn't make a kinyan with the single girls. Fred Gemara, my pas, what's going on over here? Once you make a mehechet tesa, you can go ahead and this one, not more. Just go ahead and go for it, right? Says Gemara, Bas Ishtay, the Havi B'Shas Kinyan, the stepdaughter who was alive at the time, again when the deal was made, because she was born with the wife before she came into marriage, you make a kinyan. Mahani le kinyan, the kinyan helps that the nechasim ameshubid, and she can collect them. But B'Day, the loy Havi B'Shas Kinyan, mashma, the girls weren't born yet. Right, the girls weren't born yet. Then le mahani le kinyan. So here's the case. When the man was mishabed himself, the assumption is that he had no other daughters, and the kinyan that was made, the mishabing the property was only to the stepdaughter that enters the marriage with the deal of 5 years. The girls afterwards, they're born, no kinyan, they don't collect mishubadim. That's the case. Okay, and that would explain the difference. But it's einachinami. It's not because it's a davar katzav. It's because the kinyan was made. So it's not a kasha on ula and a raya Reb Chanina. Says Gemara, behechi dami. No, miloy freg Gemara kasha. Miloy askina and dahavi travayu b'shas kinyan. Could it be that they're both there at the time of the kinyan, meaning he has daughters as well at the time of the kinyan? Behechi dami kigoin de gersha v'ahadra. After he married the woman, right? And they had daughters. He divorced his wife and then took her back. So now he has daughters and he has the stepdaughter. And the kinyan now will be on both. In other words, I'm not buying your teretz. What was that teretz, guys? Outside, look at me. Stepdaughters collecting from Mishubadim, regular daughters are not. This is a kinyan, that's not a kinyan. Why is this a kinyan? She was alive. Why is this not a kinyan? She wasn't alive. Says the Gemara, I can give you a hechatim, so they're both alive. What happens? Stepdaughter, right? Stepdaughter, you marry her, you have other daughters, make a deal, right? Make a deal, make a kinyan, and he takes her back afterward, and then he takes her back afterwards. So it's possible that they're alive already. He marries her, and they have children. He divorces the wife, and then takes her back, and he makes a kinyan in the second marriage that is mechayiv to go ahead and lasan es b'nesayim. So why don't they get from Mishubadim? Ella, we need a different teretz, guys. Ella, we need a different teretz. What's the difference between the girls who don't collect Mishubadim and the stepdaughter that does? Bitoy, the Tanai Bezdin Kachla, daughters that are only eating the Tanai Bezdin that they eat from the estate as long as they're not married. Loi Mahani Le Kinyan. Kinyan doesn't help. Bas Ishtoi, the Loi Tanai Bezdin Kachla, she's not eating the Tanai Bezdin. Mahani Le Kinyan. So the chilik is that they can both make kinyanim. They can both be around. You can make kinyanim. The kinyan, the collect mishubadim, will only help vis-a-vis the stepdaughter. It won't help via the bonus. What's the svara? One is eating b'tanai bezdin and one is not. And the question is, why should there be a difference? So you made a kinyan. I don't care why I'm eating. Whether you promised me for 5 years or bezdin said I'm supported from the estate. If you make a kinyan, it should work. Why are you making this chilik? How do you make this chilik? Read the Gemara. It's such a good question. The Gemara asked it. The migra gara, are the daughters, not the stepdaughter, the daughters worse because they're eating on a Tanai Bezdin and they make a kinyan? So therefore, we're not going to accept this teretz either. Ela bitoy, even the Tanai Bezdin ka'achla, since they're eating b'tanai Bezdin, you know what? And they make a kinyan on it. Ema, I'll say, tzrarei atvasa. We're choishes that what? That their father gave them a bundle of cash before he died. Since he knows that's going to be supported from the estate, right? He's going to go ahead and on the side give them something. So b'chayish that story, a packet, atvasa she's holding on to, and therefore he took care of his chiyuv of mezainis, right? He took care of the chiyuv of mezainis, and therefore the kinyan will not allow to collect mishubadim. Mashain came the stepdaughter that is chayiv only because of the kinyan. Then what? And we're not chayish for shin collect mishubadim. So the Gemara is answering the following. We have a teretz. You made a kinyan. Since you made a kinyan, that's what makes you collect mishubadim. Not the fact it was 5 years. Again, we're asking on Ula, guys, right? Ula, who said it's because it was written. Ula and Smash for 5 years is of course like Reb Chanina that it's a davar katzur. Ula is answering that you made a kinyan. Where's he asking from? The case of 5 years for the stepdaughter and mezainis. Mishubadim, not mishubadim. They both made a kinyan, right? We have a problem. They both made a kinyan. Why is this limited to bnei chayrin? Why does it collect mishubadim? And we're concluding the following. Since this one is mezainis is a tanai bezdin, and you made a kinyan, so he has to take care of her. So we're chayish that what he did take care of her before he died. He gave her something on the side. Therefore, they're not going to collect mishubadim. I'm thinking this one, which is not tanai bezdin, he didn't give anything on the side. You collect mishubadim. So for this the kinyan helps. But here the kinyan doesn't help because we chayish that what he took care of it already. But Ula held serve, guys. Ula held serve. You good? Baruch Hashem. I think it's good. I hope it's good. Okay. Pashma. We're going to have a third opinion now. A third opinion, guys, as to why you do not take for Chilas Peiris from Mishubadim. We have Ula's in Kaisvin. We have Chanina, it's in Kaisvin. You know, said. Now we're going to have a third opinion. Okay, this is predicated upon exactly when the Shiba took place. Did the Shiba take place after the Peiros were in this world or before the Peiros were in this world? Toshma, Amrab Nasan. A Masai, when will we say that you don't collect from Peiros from Mishubadim? Bisman shekodem mechre shel sheni the shvacha shel rishon. there's again, there's there's another player over here, right? There's another player over here. There's the one you sold the field to that was stolen, and then there's the one that you sold the field to, a regular field, and the one that you sold. What happens over here? You take away the field from him for the Paris. The other guy's going to go take away the field, Mishubadim. But you can't collect from Paris. You can collect from Mishubadim. So when is that? When we say that, is the Lekeach Sheni, the guy who bought the field secondly, right? He was kind of his field before the first guy went ahead and was Mishabeach his field. And therefore, the Lekeach Sheni is not Mishubid to Lekeach Rishon al the Shvach and the Paris, because they weren't in the world yet. The Paris weren't in the world yet. If the first one had improved his property already, he had got the Paris going, everything was in the world already before the second sale. So then the Lekeach Rishon would also collect the Shvach and the Paris from the Paris Sheni, right? Okay, so what's the case? So the Goslin, the one who improved this field, right? He's the Lekeach Sheni, and the Rishon is going to go ahead and collect from him. I guess no. The person whose field, the stolen field, is going to collect from the other guy. It has to be that the other guy bought his field after the Nechasim were improved. But if before the Nechasim were improved, then what? Then he will collect from Mishubadim. Alma, what do we see? Mishum deloy kadimhu. Rav Nosson says the reason is what? That you don't collect from Paris and Shvach from Mishubadim is because at the time of the Kinyan, right, that he bought from, it was not Mishubid. So the reason is not because, guys, it's a kasha on Rav Chanina, and it's a kasha on Rabbi, on Ula. Loi Rav Nosson, the reason is because the Shvach did not come before the Mechira. The Shvach, the improvement, did not come before the Mechira, therefore it's not Meshubit. Had it come before, it would be Meshubit. So it's a kasha on Ula and Reb Chanina. How did they go ahead and learn Pshat? L'chayra, this is a Tanoic statement, right? It's not because of Kaisvin like Ula. It's not because of Kaisvin set amount like Chanina, but it's because at the time the Paris weren't in the world yet. B'shas the Shibud. That's the Gemara's kasha. Amr Nosson, Amos is much okay with that. Al Mishum Lekodem says, and for the Gemara Tanoihi, Pirish, guys, Rabbi Ula the Amoira, and Rabbi Chanina the Amoira, they found Tanoim like them that can argue on Rabbi Nosson. Once they had Tanoim that they could be supported by, it's not a kasha. So we need two Tanoim to say two things: one Kaisvin and two Kaitzvin. The Tanya, Ein Moitziin Lachilas Paris L'Shvach Karkois Ulamazon Nishan Va'abonis Minchas Mishubadim They Tikkun Olam Lefi She'ein Kaisvin. That's the Tanakama holds like Ula, or Ula holds like the Tanakama. Rav Yosi V'chimat Tikkun Olam Yesh Bezu V'lei Ein Ktsuvin. It's not a set amount. So Rav Yosi holds like what? So Rav Chanina holds like Rav Yosi. So you want to ask Rav Nosson, who says the reason is what? Is because the Shvach didn't come before. I have some I hold the court. So you have three opinions why you don't collect from Paris. Three opinions. One, they're not written in, so it's a Noval Peh. Two, it's not a Dava Kotzev that somebody could have avoided. And three, because it was never Meshuvah because it wasn't in the world yet. Those are three reasons. Guys, are we good? Bobblehead time or sleeping time? Okay. The last thing in the Mishnah is a person finds a mitzvah, he doesn't have to swear. A person that finds a mitzvah doesn't have to swear. Now we know one of the three shvuas HaTorah is the Moed of Mitzvah HaTaina. Right? Moed of Mitzvah HaTaina and the Shvuah Eidachad and Shvuas HaShonim. Those are the three shvuas in the Torah. So now, the following case. Well, here's the Gemara, guys. We're going to see that there is a Tana who argues on a Mishnah. It's Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, and Rabbi Yitzchak is going to go according to Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov. Good? Guys, what happens? Guys, outside. Guy finds something, comes and gives you 2 oxen. You say, he gives you 1 ox. You say there was 2. So he goes, I only had 1. So what does our Mishnah say? You don't swear. You don't swear. If you have a Tana who says you do swear, it's connected our Mishnah. Good. Okay. So now let's see with that backdrop. Let's see the Gemara. Says the Gemara. Amar Rabbi Yitzchak, Shnei Kisim Kshurim and Matzatzali, 2 money packets you have found for me. And the Maitzim Mitzia says, I only found 1. That's Maidav Miktsas. He's claiming 2. Bari, there were 2. You're admitting to 1. Nishba, he swears the Shua Maidav Miktsas. This is not like our Mishnah, guys, right? Right away, guys, you should be asking. Our Mishnah says that Maitzim Mitzia doesn't swear. Shnei Shvarim Keshurim Matzatzali, 2 Shvarim tied together, you found for me. He doesn't swear. So what's the difference between 2 money packets and a shar? Because this is a time of Shema. Because when the guy says you found 2, he doesn't know. You know why? My timer, shvarim minatre me'adadi. There could have been 2, but since they go ahead and they're movable objects, they're pushing against each other, one of them could have gotten loose and you only found 1. So therefore, when the guy said you had 2, it's only a time of Shema. Therefore, since it's a time of Shema, it's not Moedav Miktsas because the guy's not finding Vadai 2. Kisin le'menatre adadi, but 2 dormant money packets are staying in. There's no way one's moving without the other. So he's a Tainus Vadai, a Tainus Bari, and therefore it's Moedav Miktsas. Okay, so that would be the chilik between 2 shvarim and two money packets. By money packets, it is a Moedav Miktsas, and 2 shvarim it's not. Shnei shvarim keshurim matzatza v'alom matzatzi v'chazati l'cha. He says, I found them, returned them to you. Echamehem only wanted Haris and Nishba. So he says that I found 2, but I returned right. He does swear he's Moedav Miktsas. Rabbi Yitzchak Fregdimar now. What do we need? Rabbi Yitzchak, Leslie, I might see Mitzia, Layishba, if they take an oilam. Guys, if you're going to have to swear, swearing is a very severe thing. People don't like to swear. So there's no way in the world he's going to want to swear. So why should I bother with an Aveda? I'm not going to swear. So Rabbi Yitzchak is bringing us these 2 cases with money packets and shvarim. Money packets, you're swearing. Shvarim, you're not swearing. L'chayri shouldn't swear at all. He's Maitzim Mitzia. And Maitzim Mitzia doesn't swear. Amid Beis says, he holds like Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov. We're going to have a long-winded Gemara to the end of the blot. And basically, we're going to see that Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov says that you would swear in this. That this is not considered Meishav Aveda. It's not considered returning something to you. The Tanya. Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, Aimer. Hamayim she'adam nishba al tainus atzmai. Sometimes a person swears on his own claim. In other words, on his own claim, he could swear. Ketzad. A guy goes over to a fellow and says, you know what? Your father entrusted me with a mana. I have a mana of your father's. Now this guy didn't know anything. This fellow shows up and says, I have $100 of your father in my hands. Pras, and I ate 50 of it. He's he's making the game and he's making the rules. Right? He said, it's a shua ma'adim miktsas. I said nishba, right? This guy never came up with him, nothing, 0. And nonetheless, he's swearing, right? When this guy says, I have $100 of your father, I mean, hey, 50, what do you say? In Yiddish, we say, this is gefunden geld, right? It's manna from heaven, right? Where did this come from? I didn't expect that. Every once in a while, you get a little, put your hand in your pocket, and there's this little hunchkey you forgot over there. Sometimes it happens, right? So you never know. So this is the same thing. It's a Meshav Aveda. He didn't know anything about it. This guy said it, so you don't swear. Okay, so now it's mashma that Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov does not hold the Meshav Aveda. Fred Gemara, Eliezer ben Yaakov, Leslie Meshav Aveda Pata. So Amarav, no, it's speaking where b'toinoi cotton. It's not where he himself gave the information over without any. A cotton came along and claimed, you have mana of my father. There was a claim. Fred the Gemara, cotton midei mishashes. Cotton says something. We don't care about that. But tanan ein nishboin al tainis chever shait of a cotton. It says, my cotton is gadol, right? My cotton, the legabe mili daviv cotton who. In other words, you don't know everything that goes on in your father's rishus. You don't know everything that goes on, correct? So therefore, even in years, you're a gadol, but you're a cotton vis-a-vis this knowledge. But now he's tining the following, that you have a man of my father by you. So in the mail, it's not Meshav Aveda. Meshav Aveda is where the guy would know nothing. Over here, the guy is making a claim. Fred the Gemara, how can you say that he's making a claim? Right? Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov introduced this, that this is sometimes a person swears in Tainus Atzmai. This is Taina based upon somebody else. But Tainus Acherim Vedas Atzmai. Says Gemara, Kulai, and for the Gemara, Tainus Acherim Vedas Atzmai. It's a time of somebody else and Hoida of himself. Read the Gemara, Kula, all Moedim Mixes, Taina Nami, Tainus Acherim Vedas Atzmai, Ninu. Every Moedim Mixes is where a guy makes a claim and you answer it. Ela bid the Rabbi, Kamifli. The Machlokes between Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov and the Tanakama is vis-a-vis what? Is vis-a-vis this following din, and then we're going to apply it to our Mishnah. Okay. Dama Rabba, Mefema Omru Torah, Moida Mixes Ataina Yeshava. Why does the Torah say Moida Mixes? What's the reason for Moida Mixes swearing? Chazaka, Eino the Meyas Pana B'fnei Baal Chayvai. A guy comes along and he claims $100. No person has the chutzpah to say, I don't owe you anything. That's an outright lie, you wouldn't do it. A partial lie you will, but an outright lie you won't. No person has the chutzpah. If the guy did him a solid by going ahead and lending him $100, he's going to say, nah, never happened. Never happened. Really, in fact, he wants to go ahead and be kai for the whole thing. And that's the reason he didn't. He didn't have the chutzpah. And since he didn't have the chutzpah, really, he was going to say, I do owe you 100. And the reason he wasn't Maida, he wants to buy himself some time. Savar, good. In other words, really, he wants to deny the whole thing. But see, since he won't have the chutzpah, then he really should admit the whole thing. But he doesn't have the money, so he wants to buy time. So what does he do? I'll admit half. I'll be a little chutzif, not a total chutzif, a little chutzif. So what does the Torah say? Rami shvu alavei, throw a shvu on top of him, in order that it should be moida in the whole thing. He should be moida in the whole thing. That's the regular moida of a mixas. Now, where's the machlokes between Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov and the Tanakama and the Chachamim? That's not by him, it's by his son. Remember, the case is speaking, Ketzad, Mana, you have $100 of your father's dead. So here's the question, fellas. Would there be a din of moida b'miktsas by the son? Would he be mechutzav by the son or only by the father? So Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov Sava, lo yishna boi v'lo yishna b'bnoi ein ameyes. He won't have the chutzpah. So now when he says 50, it's a classic moda b'miktsas. The hilkach lav meishav avedahu. Therefore, it's not meishav aveda, and you swear. So let's stop right here. What was akasha? A guy finds 2 oxen, finds 2 kisim, right? It's moed b'miktsas. Ayitz meishav aveda. Ayitz meishav aveda, right? Ayitz meishav aveda. Says the Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov. That's not meishav. This our Mishnah is not meishav aveda. That is not considered meishav aveda. Someone who goes ahead and he loses something. This guy's claiming for sure I had 2 oxen. I'm sure I had I'm sure I had 2 money pouches. He's saying it came of bori. That's what he's claiming, guys. Where is it? The same way the guy is claiming that you have $100 of my father. Says Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, he'll have the hazah to lie, and he has to swear. Our Mishnah as well is not considered meishav aveda. Since this guy is tanning bori for sure, I had 2 oxen. Bori for sure, I had 2 kisim. Therefore, you're going to have to swear. And Rabbi Yitzchak holds like Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, right? And that's why he said you swear, and therefore it's not a kasha on him, because our Mishnah is going according to Chachamim, who says it's a case of meishav aveda. And meishav aveda, everyone holds you don't swear. So that's the hilkach lav meishav aveda, because he's tanning bori. Rabbanan savar boy who deina meyes. Avu b'benoi meyes. But the loy may is, and when he doesn't have a azah, when he admits the truth, meishav avedahu. So vis-a-vis the guy tining, where's my other shar? Guys, he can say there was no other shar. He could say that, but he doesn't, right? So he's the fact that he said it, right, shows that what he's telling the truth, and therefore he wouldn't swear. Okay, Be'ez Hashem, tomorrow it's not going to be in the morning. I